In June 2013, 20-year-old Heather Elvis began an affair with 37-year-old Sidney Moorer, a married man and father of 3. By December of that year, she had disappeared, never to be seen again. Heather was born on June 30th, 1993, in Carolina Forest, South Carolina. The eldest daughter of Terry and Debbie Elvis, she was talented, cheerful, and full of energy. A beautiful young woman with limitless potential, she stood out for her artistic sense and independence. She had a stable job, a loving family, and seemingly everything was going well. But Heather had a secret, one that would only come to light when it was too late. After graduating from St. James High School in Murrells Inlet in 2011, Heather dreamed of living on her own. Her parents supported her, and soon she moved into her own apartment in Myrtle Beach, just a few miles from the ocean. To pay for her living expenses, she took a job as a hostess at the Tilted Kilt restaurant and also worked at the House of Blues. Her days were packed: work, studying to become a cosmetologist, and planning for the future. In June 2013, Heather met 37-year-old Sidney Moorer, the owner of Palmetto Maintenance and Cleaning Services. He frequently visited the Tilted Kilt to repair kitchen equipment. Heather had always been drawn to older men, so it was no surprise that she became interested in someone nearly 20 years her senior. Their feelings developed quickly. Despite having a wife and children, Sidney became deeply involved in the relationship. Their affair wasn't just physical. They spent a lot of time together and grew emotionally attached. Heather's co-workers at the Tilted Kilt said that what they had seemed like true love, but what started as an exciting romance soon turned into a tragedy. Months passed, and Heather's affair with Sidney continued. However, by October 2013, their secret was no longer a secret. Sidney's wife, Tammy Moorer, found out. She called Heather directly, wasting no time in making it clear that she knew everything. She told Heather that to Sidney, she had been nothing more than a fleeting amusement. It wasn't the first time he had cheated. Tammy had caught him before, and since then, their marriage had been built on broken trust. While Heather was trying to sort out her life, Sidney and Tammy were attempting to save their marriage. On November 19th, they took their children on a 3-week trip to California, visiting Disneyland. They traveled in a newly purchased black Ford F-150. The family returned home on December 11th. Heather's life seemed to be getting back on track. On December 17th, 2013, she went on her first date in a long time. Her roommate, Brianna Coulzer, was out of town. That evening, Heather and her new acquaintance, Steve Schiraldi, drove around the area admiring the Christmas lights. During the date, she texted Brianna, telling her that Steve was teaching her how to drive a manual transmission car. Between 9 and 10 p.m., Heather's father, Terry Elvis, received a photo from his daughter. In the picture, Heather was behind the wheel of a pickup truck, smiling happily. "Look at me, I'm a pro," she wrote. No one knew that this would be the last photo of Heather alive. Steve dropped Heather off around 1:15 a.m. on December 18th. They had planned to see each other again. Around the same time, surveillance cameras captured Sidney Moorer at a Walmart store. At 1:19 a.m., he was seen walking through the aisles and purchasing a pregnancy test. At 1:35 a.m., he called Heather from a payphone. Their conversation lasted 5 minutes. At 1:44 a.m., Heather called her roommate Brianna Coulzer. She was crying. She said that Sidney had called her, told her he had left Tammy, and wanted to see her. At 2:30 a.m., Heather left her home. She drove to Longbeard's Grill in the Carolina Forest area and stayed there until about 3 a.m. Between 2:29 and 3:16, she called Sidney multiple times. At 3:19, they finally spoke for 4 minutes. Then Heather drove to Peachtree Landing, a small remote boat landing in Socastee, South Carolina. At 3:41 a.m., surveillance cameras further down the road recorded a black Ford F-150 arriving at the landing. At that exact moment, all activity from Heather's phone ceased. At 3:45, the pickup truck drove away. Horry County Police determined that the only person in the area who owned such a vehicle was Sidney Moorer. When they searched his truck, they discovered that the GPS had been disabled on the night of December 18th, for the first time in the vehicle's history. This prevented investigators from tracking its movements. The next evening, police received a report about a suspiciously parked car at Peachtree Landing. A green Dodge Intrepid was found near the Waccamaw River boat ramp. The car belonged to Heather, but was registered to her father, Terry Elvis. Police contacted him, and he arrived with a spare set of keys. Inside the car, they found only a few receipts. Since her car was found in perfect condition, with no broken windows, signs of struggle, or blood, the case was classified as a disappearance. The police began piecing together Heather's last known movements. They questioned the man she had gone on a date with, Steve, who was the last person to see her alive. He quickly proved his innocence and was removed from the list of suspects. On December 20th, the police interrogated Sidney Moorer. He insisted that he had not communicated with Heather for at least 2 months. He even sarcastically asked if payphones still existed. However, when investigators showed surveillance footage of him calling Heather, Sidney suddenly changed his tone. Now, he claimed he had called only to tell her to stop texting and calling him. He also stated that on the night of her disappearance, he was with Tammy. They had been running errands and stopped at Walmart to buy a pregnancy test. On February 21, 2014, the couple was arrested. Despite the absence of a body, a murder weapon, or direct evidence, they were charged with kidnapping and murder. However, due to a lack of evidence, the murder charge was dropped. Both were released on a $20,000 bond while awaiting trial for the kidnapping. Prosecutors began building their case and searching for a motive. That was when employees at the Tilted Kilt Bar revealed that Heather might have been pregnant. In June 2016, Sidney's trial began. The jury deliberated for 2 days but could not reach a unanimous verdict, leading to a mistrial. In August 2017, Sidney was hit with a new charge, obstruction of justice. Investigators proved that he had lied about the payphone call. This time, the jury took only 50 minutes to find him guilty, sentencing him to 10 years in prison. In October 2018, Tammy went to trial. She was charged with kidnapping and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Unlike her husband, she had not been recorded at the payphone or Walmart, making the case against her more difficult. But prosecutors took a different approach. They analyzed the Moorers' phone records. The data revealed that after Sidney and Heather broke up and leading up to her disappearance, Tammy had been actively stalking the young woman. The prosecution focused on Tammy's character, portraying her as a dominant and controlling figure. In court, they described how she would take her husband's phone, forbid him from working at the Tilted Kilt, and even handcuff him to the bed at night. Another key detail discussed was a tattoo of her name on Sidney's lower abdomen, which witnesses claimed she had forced him to get. The defense did not deny that Sidney had the tattoo, but argued that he had gotten it long before meeting Heather. As evidence, they presented photos taken during the tattooing process. The prosecution called a forensic video analyst who confirmed that a black Ford F-150 captured on surveillance footage belonged to the Moorer family. Another major blow to the defense came from cell phone data analysis. Investigators determined that starting on November 2, 2013, right after Sidney and Heather broke up. His and Tammy's phones had been tracked in areas where Heather was present. Moreover, on the night of her disappearance, both Tammy's and Sidney's phones were recorded in the vicinity of the very payphone from which Sidney had called Heather. After the prosecution presented its evidence, the courtroom was stunned by an unexpected twist. Tammy Moorer chose to testify. Tammy insisted that neither she nor her husband would ever be capable of kidnapping someone. She stated that she had never even received a speeding ticket. She claimed she had never forced Sidney to get a tattoo of her name or handcuffed him to the bed. According to her, when she found out about the affair, she was angry at Sidney, not at Heather. At first, her testimony was calm and confident, but during cross-examination, Tammy quickly lost her composure. Her frustration and short temper became apparent, which did not go unnoticed by the jury. The jury took only 4 hours to reach a verdict. Tammy was found guilty of kidnapping and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. She was sentenced to 2 concurrent 30-year terms. Brianna, Heather's neighbor, felt relieved but also believed the punishment was not harsh enough. She said Tammy's smirk made her realize that Heather's family might never find out what really happened that night. Sidney's retrial took place in September 2019. This time, the jury reached a decision even faster, within just 2 hours. Like Tammy, he was found guilty of kidnapping and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. He was sentenced to 2 concurrent 30-year terms. And that concludes our coverage of this tragic story. If you found this video informative or thought-provoking, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates on cases like these. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to share this video with your friends and give it a thumbs up if you found it valuable. Thank you for watching.